And they want us to sit around between apathy and despair thinking we can't make a difference. And so that limits our power. And then we trust other people to do something for us, and they're not going to do anything for us. So I was struggling with all of these questions in my sleep, not in my sleep, trying to sleep. And I came up with, I write a lot. You know, I write a lot of articles. I write, I think that's how I work through I've worked through a lot of my pain, a lot of my conflicts, a lot of my questions is by writing. Frustrations for sure, anger for sure. And so I thought of a title for an article, Myth America. Because I thought myths are what bind us to the system. If we don't believe in the myths, then we can't be bound to a system that is cancerous and not for us. So I got up and I thought I was going to write an article, but you know, after a couple hours I realized that nobody would write an article that was 30 pages long. Nobody would read one. So I thought this is going to have to be a book. And I think many of us never supported the policies of George Bush. We don't support the same policies under Obama, whether we support Obama or not. But many people are starting to wake up. I gave it a year. I thought after a year people would wake up, but it's much faster than a year. I've had something happen to me that never happened to me when I was just going against George Bush in Iraq. I've had people stand up and walk out on me because they were so upset. They thought I was being mean to Obama when I was just telling the truth. You know, so, but I'm seeing a lot more energy, and a lot more people are deeply disappointed. Deeply, deeply disappointed. And when I get interviewed, people ask me, oh, so are you disappointed that Obama's continuing the war? I said, yeah, I'm disappointed. I was disappointed when Bush was continuing it. I was disappointed when Bush started it. But I'm not surprised. Because you know what? I actually listened to what Obama said during the campaign. And he never said a complete withdrawal from Iraq. And he always said he was going to send more troops to Afghanistan. But a lot of people just looked at how he was saying things. And he says things way more prettier than Bush ever said things. You know? So he talks pretty and acts the same. And I think we're starting to get that in America. And maybe that's why I'm in such a good mood. Maybe it's not just going gluten-free. But maybe it's seeing that I think 3/4 of this country at least woke up during the Bush regime. And then it was so sad to see Obama put half of those people to sleep again. But I see. Every day I see people with their eyes wide open and just telling me, Cindy, you know, people emailed me after my election and after the election just saying, you got to give him a chance, you got to be nicer to him. And I would just say, well, if you didn't focus on him but focused on the policies like I'm doing, then you would see what I'm doing. I have nothing personally against Obama. I've met him several times, as I've met George Bush. And they are two different people for sure. But it's the policies. And until we realize it's a system and that the problems are systemic, we're never going to have true change. I think really Obama was saying chains and not change. And he'd go off stage and go, they think I'm saying change. So I just want to read you the myths that I thought were the most important ones. And when I get off, I'm going to have like August off, I think, except for maybe like a week in Montana. But when I get off book tour in August, before I go back on it, I'm going to expand this book. It's only 100 pages, but what I've learned on my tour from you and from other people and from people who've read the book, what's working of the suggestions, what more we can do. So I've learned so much, and I can double the myths. Instead of 10 myths, it can be the 20 myths, or the 25 myths of the robber class, or the 1,000 myths of the robber class. And it can be volumes. But, so it is going to be expanded into real book form, I think, when I get back home. But these are the myths that were central to my life at the end of January of this year. The first robber class myth, and this is our foundational myth. This is the myth of how we were founded. America is the greatest nation in the universe. Okay, not on this planet, not in history, but if there's another nation on another planet in another galaxy, we don't need to know anything about its culture. We don't need to know anything about its history. We don't need to know anything about its current events or its political structure or social structure. We already know we're better than it. And that's the way it is with just countries on our borders. We don't need to know anything about the culture of Mexico or Canada, which I call America Junior. We just need to know that we're better than those places and people, always. What allows us to exterminate an entire indigenous population to almost extinction? What allowed us to have black slavery and not count women until the second decade of the 19th century? You know, and another dangerous thing about Barack Obama talking about voting rights is they're saying that we can get rid of the Voting Rights Act because we have an African American president. Have elections, have I not been paying attention and elections have become egalitarian? You know, that the problems with our system have been fixed? I don't think so. I don't think so. And then America being the greatest nation in the universe, if America kills somebody, they must be people that needed to be killed. That they must not be innocent people. That Osama bin Laden, if you believe that myth, you know, killed 3,000 people. And, you know, I know you especially, we mourn those deaths. And we call it terrorism. But Bush and our country can kill over 1 million people in Iraq? And that's justified? I don't think so. You know, I was on Anderson Cooper one time. He's like, is it true you called George Bush the biggest terrorist in the world? I went, yeah. And I said, what's the difference between flying airplanes into buildings and dropping bombs onto buildings from airplanes? What makes our innocent life more precious than their innocent life? So Anderson Cooper didn't know how to answer that. If there's some water around, if I could have a glass of water from somewhere, that'd be great. And the second robber class myth that's born out of my own experience is called elections matter. And I quote one of my favorite revolutionary anarchists, Emma Goldman, and she says if elections actually changed anything, they'd make them illegal. And thanks, Elaine. Oh yeah, I'm going to thank Elaine for housing me and schlepping me around. Elaine, military families speak out. Military families speak out and world can't wait. Elaine. The third robber class myth is there's a significant difference between Democrats and Republicans in the robber class. That we actually have a two-party system. People always tell me, Cindy, are you for a third party? I said, yeah, but only after we have a second party. You know? A second party would be fabulous.